Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, dear devotees, so good to see you on the Bhagavad-gita Tuesday class. Joining us on Zoom is our Sadhana Mataji, Varshana Mataji, and Sutapa Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All
Hare Krishna. Dandavat
pranams,
pranams.
Dandavat pranams, Sadhana Mataji. And we have also joining us on Facebook is Shraddha-devi Dasi, Dilip Bhai Patel Prabhu, and Bikramjit Manna Prabhu is also joining us. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll have a short pranam mantra for the spiritual master. And then we'll start with our favorite pastime of chanting one round of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So if you have your beads, just keep them handy with you. We'll get started in a moment here. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande, Hari.
Hari Hari Bol.
So welcome to our class. Those of you who joined us a little later, Sonal Mataji, Preeti Radhika Mataji, and Archana Mataji. So we'll take a short break here and share some reflections. Anything that you'd like to share with all of us here about your chanting session or in general about your day today?
Hare Krishna Mataji, then with Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, right now I'm experiencing, quietude of mind, During the japa session, I was having, less number of unwanted thoughts. Otherwise, it will be like always my mind will be, chattering here and there. But, in this japa session, it was good. I was focusing only on the Krishna, who is permanent and who is eternal and inexhaustible, actually.
Okay.
So I was trying to concentrate more on Krishna today. So thank you for the japa session.
Good, very good. So if you were to sum it up in 3 words, what were the 3 key words from your spiritual practice today? Here.
It's blissful and it's peaceful and very calmness of mind. Yeah.
Okay. Calmness, uninterrupted by other thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And very good. Anybody else wants to share?
Concentration.
We chant, after this chanting complete, it's like that we are out of pollution, means it's the mind. The mind is purified
Okay,
and relaxed.
good, good. Varshana Mataji, you were trying to say something?
Concentration was good, Mataji.
Concentration is good early in the morning for you? Very.
Yes.
Anybody else wants to share?
For me, it's a relief because I had a long work day from 8 to 5. So
Wow.
I'm just glad to be not thinking about any of that and thinking about Krishna. So
There you
that's
go.
happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a nice way to kind of like relax and unwind after being tossed around in the labyrinth, of work. That's good. Yeah. Thank you for joining. It must be,
Thank you for having me.
there you go. Anybody else? Is there? I think everybody spoke, right? Because Sonal Mataji, would you like to share? I don't know when Sonal Mataji joined.
Yeah, no, I couldn't join. I mean, I
Okay.
couldn't finish the round, so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but you were able to you were able to sneak in a few, right?
Yeah, I did. Same like Sadhana Mataji, long day to
Long
find.
day at work. Yeah, I know. Things are not easy. Things are
Yeah.
not easy at all. Yeah. Okay, so let's get going then to the next part. And
Mataji, one more thing. When you shared that it is like the photo, that is also helpful because sometimes when we are opening our eyes, so it's just Krishna is in front.
exactly, and my apologies for bringing it up so late. I was actually frantically looking for a DT picture which had garlands on it because for the last 4 months, there are no garlands in the DT, and I didn't want to show them in less opulence, especially while we're reading Opulence of the Absolute. That's the chapter that we're reading. So I didn't want. So I had to go really all the way back on my WhatsApp on the Darshan group to get something from March, and everything was like, not downloaded for me. So I had to really scroll through and get it. So yeah, next time, for our next session, I'll have it ready so that while we are chanting, all of us can have darshan of the Lord like that. Maybe I'll have a PPT or something playing there. Right. Very good. So, okay, so let's get going then with the next part, which is reading from Bhagavad-gita. And I wanted to quickly run this by you, that usually on the Tuesdays, we don't read the whole chapter. We just go straight into the verse that we are going to do. But would you all rather read the whole chapter so that the whole big picture gets etched in our minds like that, or
Yes, that's always good to read the whole chapter.
read the whole chapter?
Mataji, I am very sorry to say, but for me it will be too late. Then I won't be able to continue that means the particular verse.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right. So in the interest of everybody who wants to go deep dive inside, I'm going to go deep dive inside. And here we go. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Gaur. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my desktop with you real quickly. And let me know, are you able to see chapter 7, verse number 2?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sonu Mataji. Jnanam teham cha vijnanam idam vaksham asheshataha yad gyatva neha bhuyonyaj gyatavyam avashishyate. And going through the synonyms here. Jnana means phenomenal knowledge. Te is unto you. Aham is I. Sa is with. Vijnanam is numinous knowledge. Idam is this. Vakshyami shall explain. Asheshataha in full. Yat which. Gyatva knowing. Na not. Iha. Iha means in this particular world. Bhuyaha further. Anyat anything more. Gyatavyam knowable. Avashishyate remains. Okay, so we'll just focus a little bit on some of the words here. So if somebody is going to explain something to you, what will you say in Sanskrit?
Vakshyami.
Vakshyami.
Hmm?
Vakshyami.
Vakshyami, yeah, Vakshyami. All right, and if somebody knows it, but knowledge is already there with somebody, then he's already knowing it.
Jnanam.
Knowing, he's already knowing it.
Jnatva.
Gyatva, exactly, Gyatva, right? Okay, and then if I want to say here, what will you say? Here.
Iha.
Right, Iha. So you see, Iha doesn't mean in this world like that in Sanskrit, right? Iha, by context, Prabhupada has added that in this world, otherwise Iha means here. Right? Iha, yes, like this. Okay, good. And then if there is something that remains, right? Like you take 4 apples and then you eat 1 apple, then 3 apples remain, right? So what is that called?
Avashishyate.
Avashishyate, right? Like that you break it. Avashishyate. Okay? And then if you want to say something is in full. Complete.
Asheshataha.
Asheshataha, right? So when you add something to a Sanskrit word, if you add a, then it becomes the opposite, right? And then sheshata, shesh. Are you familiar with the word shesh?
Yes, Mataji.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah. What does it mean?
It's end.
Remaining.
Sorry, remaining, right? Shesh, what remains, right? And asheshata means opposite of that. It means that there's nothing that is remaining. It's all in full, right? So in this particular word, Krishna is talking about knowledge because this particular chapter is about knowledge, right? And when we were talking about knowledge last time, about getting knowledge about Krishna, what was the key thing that we talked about? What was the main thing about how do you get knowledge about Krishna?
By concentrating your mind on him.
What did Sutapa say?
Listening to them.
Listening, exactly. The key word touch shrunu, right? That word said touch shrunu, listen, you have to hear, right? So from your ears, that information will go. And in today's class in the morning, when we were talking about the peculiarities of the soul, we said Ascharyavat Paschati Enam, Ascharyavat Vadati Enam, like that, right? Shrunvati Enam. So people are listening about the soul. And so when you're listening about the soul, you're forming some impressions about the souls. In that case, you are seeing through your ears, right? Similarly here also, if you want to know about God, you cannot see God with your eyes. You have to see God through your ears, like that. Shrunvatam. The tat shrunu is what he was saying, right? So Asheshata, he's talking about that it's full. I'm going to tell you some knowledge, and then I'm going to tell that knowledge to you. And then once you know that knowledge, then you have got everything complete. There's nothing which is remaining. Nothing which is going to remain. It's the full and the complete. So Asheshataha is full, right? And then Avishyashate is that nothing will remain once you know that. So what is he talking about? So let's go into the translation. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. This is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above-mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord, and it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession directly from the Lord. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes, and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practice. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. The Vedas, Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.3 says, Kasmin yu bhagavo vignate sarvam idam vignatam bhavatiti. Like that, okay? So let's just stop here and go a little bit deeper into that and see what did you hear, what struck you, and those on Facebook, you can also share your reflections here.
Mataji, phenomenal and numinous.
Those were the words that struck you?
Yeah, it's para and apara, but if you ask, I cannot elaborate it. So I would like to know more.
Okay, you want to go a little bit deeper into phenomenal and numinous? Okay. So the word phenomenal, right? The word phenomenal has got to do with whatever is there that can be that can be perceived by your senses. And when I say your senses, it means that your senses and my senses, which are material senses, right? So we've always been talking about using the right instruments. So phenomenal is whatever you can perceive, and perceive just doesn't mean seeing. It also means seeing through your other senses, like you perceive the smell of something, right? So you come to know about the smell of something, not through your eyes, but through your nose, like that. So phenomenal has got to do with the material world, like that, okay? Phenomenal. And then the other word is, what's the other word?
Numinous.
Numinous, right? So, and so, apara, sorry. In Sanskrit, phenomenal is also known as apara. Apara. Okay, that's the Sanskrit word for that. Phenomenal. Okay, sometimes people also say that, people also use the term existential, right? Existential is, people are existing, human beings are existing, plants are existing, everything you see around you exists, and to know about that kind of a knowledge is known as phenomenal knowledge, right? So it is called
Hare Krishna Mataji.
it is also called Varshana, let me finish my sentence, right? And then raise your hand and then I'll address it. So going back to phenomenal knowledge. So phenomenal knowledge is material knowledge, and we call it as apara, right? It is not transcendental. And another word for knowledge. So it's phenomenal is anything material. Phenomenal knowledge, that particular term, phenomenal knowledge, is also called gyan, right? If any gyan, any knowledge that you collect about the material world is called gyan. So can you give me some examples of gyan?
How the rain happens, that will be because it's related to material.
Okay, how it rains. Okay, that is gyan, correct. And anything else?
How our body functions.
The body functions is gyan. Okay.
Mataji,
What else
knowing about the material nature.
Knowing about the material nature, okay, is gyan. Yes.
Yeah. Like its elements, earth, water, fire, ether, and all stuff.
Okay. Right. So knowing all that is gyan, right? Okay. So I'll take a pause over here and pick up what Varshana Mataji was asking. Go ahead, Mataji.
Mataji, I was saying that phenomenal can be in Hindi pratyaksha gyan, pratyaksha.
Not necessarily, because phenomenal also covers things which are subtle, right? So mind is also, knowing about the mind is also phenomenal, but you can't see the mind, right? Knowing about the false ego, intelligence, you can't see them, so they're not pratyaksha. Right?
Okay.
So Mataji, is it like knowing about the matter is phenomenal knowledge?
Yes, matter and spirit. Yes,
Okay.
in a nutshell, yes. Yeah.
Spirit also? Okay. I mean, spirit is eternal.
No.
So
I was saying no. I was saying phenomenal and numinous, matter and spirit, like that.
Spirit. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, like that.
Okay. So numinous is transcendental, right, Mataji?
Yes, and I'm just coming to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So numinous, so numinous is got to do something that has got a spiritual quality is called numinous. So can you give me an example of numinous? Something that has a spiritual quality.
Soul.
Soul, correct, for 500 points. Okay.
Scriptures or sound of mantras.
Sound of mantras, correct.
Mataji, Krishna.
Krishna. I was expecting that. Yeah, very good. Yeah. Okay. So that is numinous. That something which has got a spiritual quality inside it is known as numinous, right? And actually, the word numinous is created from the Latin word numen, which means divine will, right? So it's got to do with divine and it's got to do with divinity. Okay. So there is, and this in Sanskrit is also called para. Para means beyond. So something which is beyond the material world is the numinous. Something which is beyond the phenomenon is the spiritual world. Beyond the phenomenon is the numinous. Beyond the apara is the para on that side. And of course, when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to gaining knowledge about spiritual things, that kind of a knowledge is superior knowledge. It's not just gyan, just knowledge, it's superior. So we intensify that by adding a qualifier vi. So it becomes vigyan, right? So there is gyan and then there is vigyan. So the real knowledge, the real understanding and the real meaning of gyan is that you are talking about gathering knowledge about spiritual objects. Now, when we grew up, science liya hai, arts liya hai. What are you studying, science or arts? And we translate science into vigyan. But then the real meaning is the science of God is vigyan. Otherwise, it's plain and simple gyan. And usually the term jnani, when we say, this is a karmi, this is a jnani. So what kind of a gyan is he accumulating? He is accumulating gyan about the material world. What is he using? He's using his material faculties, right? He's using material faculties like his mind, his eyes, his ears, whatever, right? And because he's not connecting it with God, right? So his knowledge is not complete. He just stays at a gyan and he just stays a jnani, right? Now, if you get information also about God, then what do you become? From a jnani, what do you become? If you get some vigyan.
Vigyani.
Yeah, I'm looking for a devotee. Yes.
Yogi.
Bhakta.
Yeah, I become the bhakta, right? Right. So, so that is the main difference between gyan and vigyan, right? So, and we spend, I mean, how much time do you spend in knowing Gyan? How many years have we spent in trying to pursue Gyan? How many in our life? How many years do you think we spent?
Mataji, there is no particular time limit. Means
Whole
throughout
life,
our life
Mataji.
we can accumulate the yeah.
Well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, whole life.
We are still learning about matter.
Yeah, we are still learning about matter, right? So there's education, and then there's continued education, and you have to stay competitive. So you go and learn more about it. You have to be, on the cutting edge. So you go and learn the state of art, and so on and so forth, right? So you do all that. So we spend an awful lot of time, right? At the age of 3 or 2.5, we send the child to preschool, and what does he learn? Mary had a little lamb, right? Right? But our time should be spent instead in pursuing Vigyan, right? That is the real knowledge. Okay. And Bhagavad-gita, talks about other concepts as well. But the main thing that we have to know, the main thing that I have to understand, otherwise whatever I learned is all false, that the main thing I have to understand first is that I'm a soul, right? And then what else do I need to know? In our life as part of Vigyan.
Mataji, that we are the eternal servitor of the Lord.
You are so this means you have to know there is a Lord,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
you have to know about yourself, who you are, and in reality, then you also have got to know about that there is somebody called the Lord. And so once the moment from one it becomes two, right? So first it was just me, and now there's a Lord over there. Then I have to find what is the relationship between me and the Lord.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? So, and then to understand that I am the servant of the Lord, right? So, yeah. So phenomenal and numinous. Okay. What else was there in that?
Mataji, can I ask a question?
Say that your voice is breaking. Is Priyanka? Is that you?
Yeah, Mataji. I have actually Bharat has a question. He's also listening to the class, and he's asking that. So now, like right now, we are using technology, and whatever gyan we earned, we learned about this technology, we are putting it in Krishna's service. So, is it then called gyan or vigyan?
It becomes Vigyan. Anything that touches with Krishna becomes spiritualized, right? It
Okay.
becomes a tadiya, right? So if you're using a laptop, right, and you're reading Shrimad Bhagavatam on it, or you're writing an essay on Krishna, or you're sending mails to do with Janmashtami is coming and please invite, your everything becomes Brahman, right? We did that verse last time, right? 4.24. Everything that's engaged in the service of Lord becomes transcendental. So that knowledge becomes Vigyan. Yes. So we should also use, and that is known as Yukta Vairagya, right, Bharat?
Yeah.
So when you use things, when you're using material energy in the service of the Lord, right? Now, Arjuna was there on the battlefield. He was ready to give all the things up, right? He was ready to just go to the Himalayas and sit. Did Krishna allow him to do that? No,
No.
right? He didn't allow him to do that. He said that, you go. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha. So you think about me all the time, but you fight, right? Or there are problems in our life will come. 2.14, right? Martha sparshastu konteya. You will have sitoshun sukha dukkhada agama apaniyo aate hain jate hain. They come and they go. Anityasya, they are not permanent. Your problems. But then what did he say? He did not say, I'm going to solve all your problems. He said, Tam titikshasya bharta. You learn how to tolerate it. Like that. So you see, we are in this material world. We are in this in the phenomenal because of a reason. We have been put here so that we learn our lessons properly. But the good thing is that we have a body, and it is so interesting that I was talking to somebody in the morning today, or early afternoon today, and they had a sick person in the family, elderly person, very sick. And the observation that this person made about the sick person was that the person is so sick that is not of any use to the family. Like, not cannot go out and earn, or cannot cook, or whatever, cannot do anything like that, or cook, wash, clean, sweep, whatever, cannot do any of the household chores for anybody, cannot do any help for anybody. So as far as the rest of the family is looking at it, that body is a useless body, right? But because the person is sick and lying on a bed, that person can still utilize the body in the pursuit of the supreme. The person can lie on the bed, sick in a hospital, and can still chant the Hare Krishna mantras, nothing stopping, right? So we use the phenomenal to find the numinous. So this is something very nice that God has given to us. He gave us this body and said, okay, you wanted to enjoy separately from me, so here it is. You try to enjoy and see if you're going to get everlasting happiness, which you want, right? And then, but he has also given that with the same body, you can also pursue spiritual topics and get information on that. And you can find, and thus you will find the real happiness when you understand that your role is to satisfy the senses of the Lord. And we don't do that, right? Like that. So, good question, Bharat, and I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you, Mataji. He's playing, but I think subconsciously hearing also.
Very good. Very
Asked
good.
me this question. Thank you, Mataji.
You're welcome. Yeah, more reflections on this.
Mataji, I like this purport of Srila Prabhupada saying that complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplinic succession, which is coming directly from the Lord. So that is also very, great point. You have
Source, right?
yeah.
Bona
Source.
fide.
Yeah, you have to hear the topics of the Lord from a, bona fide source, from your spiritual master or from your Siksha gurus, so that, there'll not be any doubts in your mind related to
Right.
Lord.
Right. So, so how do we get this knowledge? And what will be the procedure for you to get this knowledge? The numinous. For
Like
the
Suttapa
phenomenal, there is YouTube. Right? Yeah. For the numinous, what will you do?
like Suttapa Mataji said, it's a submissive hearing.
Submissive hearing. Okay. What else will you do?
From Guru and Shastras.
Guru and Shastras. What else will you do?
Practice.
Say that again. Practice.
Practice,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Practice, you will. Vaishana Mataji, tell me. Yeah, go ahead. Vaishana Mataji.
Hearing from from a devotee from the disciplic succession.
Okay, good. Yeah. So right source that we said. Okay. So you got your scriptures, right? And you got your books, and you got your japa bead, and you got your spiritual master also, right? Then what will you do? How will the knowledge come to you?
Listen to the practice.
Okay. So we listen. Is that all?
You should have,
Practice.
Mataji, faith in your spiritual master.
You have faith in your spiritual master. Yasya deve para bhakti yasa deve tatha gurau tasya te katita hi artha prakashante mahatmanaha. So this verse says that those, only to those, it says only, very particular. It says only to those who have implicit faith, implicit, coming from within, implicit faith in the Lord and in the spiritual master. You have to have faith in Krishna, that Krishna exists, and in the spiritual master, that he's a representative of Krishna. Only to those who have got implicit faith in this are the purports, right? Is the import or the purports of the Vedic literature revealed. Okay. All right. So does it just get revealed just by having faith in your spiritual master? Is it just by that, or do you have to, is there another angle to it? All right. So
Hare Krishna Mataji, you have to hear it and practice it in your life.
yeah, that we already covered, right? Okay, let's see here. Tell me, does this verse sound familiar to you? Yes or yes?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes? What does it say? What does this verse mean?
It,
Yeah, but you have to speak in English to us now. What does it mean? It's a very famous verse, right? We have talked about this verse so many times, right? In our classes, and we did, this is chapter 4, we already done that. It's the very famous verse. Here, read the translation.
Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth.
So what part were we all missing? So you said,
Yes, submissively.
okay, that we covered.
Render service.
Self-realized soul.
Render service. Yeah, realized soul we sort of covered because you said the person should be coming in the disciplic succession like that. Yeah, we sort of covered it, but not explicitly. But the key thing that we forgot and we did not mention is that service. You have to say tadvidhi paripatena, pariprashnena sevaya, right? Tadvidhi paripatena. So first you have to approach a spiritual master, paripatena. Then pariprashnena. Pariprashnena is, prashna is question, right? But pariprashnena is, they have to be submissive inquiries. A student has to be submissive to the teacher, right? Because it helps the student build the tolerance muscles, right? Then sevaya, you have to render service to the spiritual master. So what happens? Why do you have to render service to the spiritual master?
because when we render service, then the spiritual master's heart opens, and then he will be very willing to give out the knowledge that he, or the truth that he has seen.
There you go. Yeah, right. So you have to touch the heart, and the heart gets touched when people come and do some seva. Right? Does it happen to you if somebody comes and serves you? Do you have a different feeling for that person? Do you feel good?
Yes,
Yes.
we want to reciprocate.
Yes,
You want to reciprocate, isn't it? Yeah. So there's a channel that opens between the guru and the shishya by just rendering service. The service is the first part. And while you're doing service, then submissiveness will come. Why submissiveness will come? Because the guru is going to straighten you out very nicely. Because we all come with our own, attitudes and our own impressions about ourselves and our skills, and we sometimes think that, okay, I know enough. Okay, spiritual master, you belong to the numinous, and I am the queen of phenomenal. I have my master's in computer science. I can tell you what to use. I can tell you this. I can tell you that, right? And so when you are with a spiritual master, and especially when you are doing a service like that you are trying to help the spiritual master build his website or build a system for him, or get his inputs in certain things, it's a very dicey service, because he might not know the latest in the state of art, and then we can get into a tendency of teaching the spiritual master, and we have to be very careful that it should not come. Even in those cases, we should be very, very submissive. If you've got some proposals, submit the proposal in a nice manner to the spiritual master. We always have to remember, and don't be surprised if he knows more than you do, even in the phenomenal. I went that route. I was a director at Oracle, and when I took, shelter and initiation, and I said, okay, I want to do some seva because I'm full of, this passionate energy. I want to do something for you. And my spiritual master said, okay, I want you to build a database for me. I said, wow, yes, database. I work for a database company. I'll be able to do that. He said, no, I don't want to use Oracle. I want to use that database. Do you know it? No. Then he said, okay, let's talk about that. I want to have a mailing list. Do you know this? No. So after a few more notes, I knew my position. I said, Baba, So then I went and took classes on that, whatever database he wanted me to build. I built it for him. I went and took classes on that, and then I built that for him. So, so that's what I'm saying is that never underestimate the spiritual master. Always be submissive, no matter whatever level that you are. He's expecting seva. You can't just go and say that I'm at such a big position. I'm a manager. I don't do the work. I have got software engineers. I just tell them to do it. But when it comes to seva, you have to do it. And whatever is the seva, what is a good seva? What would be a good seva for the spiritual master?
That even before he gives instructions on how to do or what he wants, you go ahead and exceed his expectation. You just know what he wants.
You know what he wants, right? Okay, so and that also characterizes the different types of disciples that you have, right? One disciple, lowest level. You tell him something, he or she never does it. Right? Guru told me, yeah, fine, I'll do it. Right now I've got so many things, I'm not even able to finish my 16 rounds. How can I take this extra thing? Doesn't do it. Second one is little higher, intermediate, is the spiritual master will tell him to do, and he'll do it. And next thing spiritual master will tell him to do, he'll do it. And the third and the best one is what Priti Radhika is saying, that he anticipates the needs of the spiritual master and he does it. Right? So how do you define the need of the spiritual master? How will we say, I have judged the need accurately?
So there's physical need and then there's spiritual needs. Like physical need is like helping him when he's preaching or traveling or cooking for him and all that. And then spiritual needs could be, he could be writing a book or working on a book. So how can you assist him with that? You can be the editor or you can be the spell checker, something like that.
Okay. So you are assisting him in some of his pursuits, right? Okay. So now you cooking for Guru Maharaj. So how is that service? How can you say that this service is good? Like I performed this service nicely.
If Guru Maharaj smiles, then it's perfect.
Yeah. But suppose the Guru Maharaj is not there to smile at you. You just were supposed to cook and then put it in a parcel and give it and leave it like after at 6 feet different, this Corona thing. How do you know that you're serving your spiritual master, especially when it comes to things like this? That you're cooking for the spiritual master. What will you cook? How will you decide what to cook?
At least my Guru Maharaj has his dietary stuff laid out, so we know exactly what he eats, what time he eats, and what does he want to eat. Like when does he want Indian, when does he want continental, and Western.
Yeah. So you see, precise is the thing. Precise is the thing. If the Guru Maharaj said, I want this, then you give him this. And don't try to embellish it on your own, especially when it comes to food items. For example, if Guru is saying, I'm very thirsty, and you give him a glass of milk, right? He wants water. He doesn't want milk. So we have to be very careful about that also, right? So seva is not an easy thing. And we say, oh, Guru, we'll do Guru seva, we'll do Guru seva. Guru seva is, it's a very exalted service and has to be done with a lot of care and a lot of attention, a lot of respect, a lot of humility in ourselves. And then we do it. And when you render it in that way, then the spiritual master is pleased. And then the heart will open and then the knowledge you will connect with the knowledge that is there in him. Right? So, tad vidhi paripatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshyanti te jnanam jnanina tattva darshana. And this was kind of covers the stuff that we are talking about here. That tattva darshi, you have to get the information from somebody who has seen the truth. If somebody has not seen the truth and just tries to tell you here and there, then you take it as like that. And what I mean by that is that if a person is saying that if a person is explaining things and you know that he's not a self-realized soul, then you just take that information with that label that is coming from somebody who's not self-realized soul, so it might not be 100% accurate, right? It's only when it's coming through a disciplic succession, you have seen and you have heard other people tell that, okay, yeah, they are living on that particular platform, is when you will agree to have faith in that knowledge. And then also you will always triangulate, right? As Vaishnav Kapoor says, always triangulate. Somebody says something, then other sadhus should also be saying the same thing, and the shastra should also be saying the same thing, right? Guru and sadhu and shastra, that triangulation has always got to be done when it comes to getting the knowledge. And it's very, very important to get knowledge from a disciplic succession, right? Why is it important to get knowledge from a disciplic succession? Why am I supposed to repeat? Why can I not?
Because then it comes from Krishna directly.
Yeah, it comes from Krishna. But
And then
what if I embellish it?
it's not polluted with the opinion of the person, the speaker. It's pure.
And what could be wrong about putting my thing? And we'll come back to the word polluted. I like it.
Mhm. Because we have limitations, we have our anarthas, we are not self-realized. So even if we are trying to repeat what we heard, it can get embellished with our opinion, which is imperfect, because our senses and our perceptions are imperfect.
Yes, because your senses are imperfect, including the mind. That is why when you try to embellish anything and add your own little flavors to it, then it is coming from a material source. The source has changed of that knowledge. Has now, when you mix the material or try to mix the material into something which is coming from a spiritual thing, we call that as pollution. Pollution. That's why you see in the very first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, when they are defining the Srimad Bhagavatam Grantha or the Purana, they are saying it is Amal Puran. Amal Puran. Mal means dirt. Amal means that which doesn't have dirt in it. So Amal Puran basically means a Puran that doesn't touch anything material, in the sense that how the Vedas will touch material things on by way of telling you, if you want to enjoy this, then you can do this little yagya. If you want to enjoy that, you can give a little donation there and things like that, right? So so that is why it's very, very important for us to get that information from the spiritual source. And then also humility is also very important, and humbleness is also very important, not only when it comes to taking information from your spiritual master, but also we should have a humble and a meek attitude towards Krishna, right? About Krishna itself. Like, we should have that faith that Krishna is the supreme, and we should have that understanding. Otherwise it'll be very difficult for us to understand. And what I mean by that is that we by nature are defiant. We are the defiant souls. We defied Krishna, and that's why we are here in this material world, right? So that tendency to not listen to orders is always there. Like when we are driving, if we meet a red light, why do we get agitated? Right? Red light is meant so that the other person can pass, right? On the crossroad. But we don't like it. We like to be the controllers. If there is a stop sign there, we don't like it. We try our best. If there were no cameras, we would never stop at the stop sign like that. So by nature, we are rebellious. By nature, we are defiant. And those kind of attitudes will not work with Krishna. We have to be in a humble mood to be able to accept that Krishna is the supreme controller. Krishna is the supreme from everything, everything that is there in the phenomenal or the numinous is coming from Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller, he's the supreme owner, and I am his servant. That mood has to come, for us to be able to then digest everything that Krishna is saying, everything that is just going to come there, right? So that full knowledge, the full knowledge that you're trying to get, right? Asheshataha, it's that complete knowledge, right? And that complete knowledge, which will include the spiritual aspect, which will also include the material aspect of it, right? So who got that information? Krishna gave it to whom? Spiritual and the Arjuna, right? And what did Arjuna do to Krishna? In chapter 2, what did Arjuna do?
He surrendered.
He surrendered.
I'm a soul surrendered.
He said, I'm a soul surrendered to you. So you see, it's very, very important that if you want to have these full things, Arjuna, I think, can you mute yourself? There's a noise coming from your phone there. So, if you want to understand the controller, the process of controlling, how does he control, why does he control, and things like that, first become surrendered, as Arjuna was surrendered like that, right? So, and similarly, the same concept of surrender then flows down, right? So you are surrendered to Krishna, and then you also have got to be surrendered to your spiritual master. And actually, shishya, the word shishya is related to the word shash, which means controlling, right? And shash, you see shastra and shastra, right? And we were talking last Friday about that shastras are there with so many don'ts and don'ts and don'ts and don'ts. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. And a student of the shastras is supposed to follow all those don'ts. And how will you follow all those don'ts if you're not a surrendered soul? If you're not willing to listen to that, you will not do it. And then we were talking about Ashwatthama and crime and punishment there in the 7th chapter from the 1st canto of Bhagavatam. And we said, well, for those who don't listen to the Shastra, who are not intelligent enough, to just listen and follow the path, then for them, there is the Shastra, right? The punishment comes in various forms like that. So, when reasoning, people don't listen to reasoning, etc., then you have to take to the law, right? So we have to understand that. And then we always have this hesitation when it comes to Bhagavad-gita 4.34, and that is that, why should I serve my spiritual master? Why should I serve? Am I somebody's servant? That's the first thought that will come to your mind. Now, do we serve at all?
All the time.
All the time. Very good.
Yeah.
Would you elaborate a little bit on how are we serving all the time?
Well, in every role, we're doing something usually for somebody else. It's not it's just natural, whether you're a mother or a child, you're trying to please somebody. And by the nature of wanting to please, you tend to do things for them or with them or however. So actually, that was my question, was from that verse, was it's almost like, as a mother, I can serve my family and my children very well because I already connected at the heart, and you tend to have more instincts about what they want. It kind of naturally is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then when you going towards the Guru Maharaj, it's almost like you want to be in that place already so that your heart is connected. So then you know that this is what you want to serve, right? Versus what it seems like is it's more transactional rather than natural flow, right? Do you know what I mean?
No, it begins with the natural. So the process of trying to find and looking for a spiritual master is like that. And, the ISKCON disciple course will tell us, and tells us in details. So it says that what's the relationship between a spiritual master and a disciple? How is that relationship there? I mean, for parents, we understand, like, especially with the mother, we understand that we were in the womb, we were physically connected to the mother, right, to the umbilical cord, and then they cut it off, but then still there's an umbilical cord, a subtle umbilical cord that still remains between the child and the mother, like that. But what's the deal with the spiritual master? But there's no umbilical cord for sure. And then what is it that connects me? So this guru-disciple relationship is actually a heart-to-heart relationship. So that's why sometimes people will come and ask me, like, they come to the temple, they like somebody, and they say, I want to take initiation from this, I want to make that a spiritual master. The first question that I always ask them is that, what does your heart say? Because that connection has to come from the heart. And that is why there is a waiting period. And so when a person comes into ISKCON, for example, somebody absolutely new walks into the temple, right? He has no idea about initiation, nothing. How is he going to gain the knowledge, right? So his source of knowledge is going to be all the people who come to the temple and sit on the Vyasasana and they preach, right? So his relationship with them is that of a disciple and a Siksha Guru. Siksha Guru means that he's just giving Siksha, he's just giving you knowledge, and he's giving knowledge to everybody, right? With not necessarily a special relationship with you. And during that time, And then, of course, there is Srila Prabhupada as our, preeminent guru. He's the guru for everybody and the first guru for everybody. And we read his books like that, right? So we are connected to him with his books, so the recordings of his lectures, to his transcripts, and so on and so forth, like that. And then we will be observing. And then sooner or later, somebody is going to, that concept of taking a spiritual master is going to come. Why? Because in the stages of devotional service, there are 9 stages to devotional service. Adau Shraddha, the first is Shraddha. So there was some sort of a faith that you had, which brought you to the temple. There is some faith, there is some good that you see, and you want to sit there and you listen to the katha. So there is it, Adhau Shraddha. That first is you come there. Like when I came there for the temple the first time, I came there because I was reading Prabhupada's books, etc. And it said, you should go to the temple. So I had faith that going to the temple is going to do something good to me. So then I went there, Adhau Shraddha. And then the people at the temple welcomed me so nicely. I was like pampered so much on my first day, and they were just showered with so much of love. And till the next day, people were writing emails to me and, trying to welcome me into ISKCON of Silicon Valley. That I wanted more of that. I wanted devotee association. I wanted to go there every Sunday to meet these fantastic devotees, like that. So Adau Shraddha, and then Tatha Sadhu Sangha. After that, you want Sadhu Sangha. You want to be in the association of devotees. Then came Ramananda Sakha Prabhu's initiation, and he came and said, Shraddha Mataji, can you come to my initiation? And I was like, no, I don't come to temples on Saturdays. I can't come to an initiation like that. So I missed that golden opportunity. But anyway, so, I was not paripakwa. I was still a novice like that, not understanding the meaning of initiation, importance of initiation, till, I heard some lectures here and there, came across a section where initiation was being talked about, and I said, I also want initiation. So I approached Dashika Prabhu, because that connection between heart to heart was already happening. And then you'd say, I want to take initiation. And I thought, fine, if I ask him for initiation on Friday, he will give me initiation on Sunday. That's what I thought. But then he said that, there's a waiting period. Because this heart-to-heart connection, or what you think is a heart-to-heart connection, might not be a heart-to-heart connection. And tomorrow you might feel a stronger connection for some other guru who might come. So there's a waiting period for 1 year where you continue to listen to others, and you listen to this one in particular, to which you feel some sort of a connection. And then at that time, you can approach the person and say that, I want to take your shelter. Okay, I'm taking your shelter. Now the waiting period, the clock is going to start clicking, and the clock clicks on both the sides. At the end of that waiting period, which is typically 1 year or more, you will be doing certain things that the spiritual master will ask you to do, some sadhana, some practice, etc. And at the end of that period, both of them have a choice of saying that, well, I don't feel a heart-to-heart connection. Or even in the middle of it, you might not feel the connection. Maybe you don't like the kind of activities that particular spiritual master does, or the thirst that he has, the focus he has. You want to do something else. And, usually seva is not a criteria for not pursuing a relationship, because it's something that can be talked about. And say that I have more, for example, a spiritual master might be more into book distribution, and you might say, no, I like to do deity worship. So those are things that can be talked about. It's not that every disciple has to completely follow whatever the thirst is for the spiritual master, but they have to agree on certain principles like that. And if you don't find that connection, then ISKCON has a very nice way of coming out of that relationship. You can say, sorry, this didn't work out. Spiritual master can also say that, hey, you were lousy disciple. I don't want to be burdened with you. I'm not in so many words, but things don't gel well. And they can also say there. So it's only when the heart-to-heart connection is budding that you will be willing to render service to the spiritual master. I mean, I was just amazed when His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj's remains came from the temple, from the hospital, and all his disciples, were there. They were circumambulating the spiritual master, and I was saying, see, it's the heart-to-heart connection that makes you come out of your house and go and visit and go close to somebody that has just got the coronavirus. So you see how strong that connection is, that you're willing to, take that risk and go there and do it for the spiritual master. And we see it so many times in Prabhupada's things also. And it's a heart-to-heart relationship. For example, somebody, I'm forgetting the name, I'm very bad at names, but they said that we should preach in Pakistan, and we should do this and we should do that. And Prabhupada said, yes, you go to Pakistan and you preach. And then so that person left. And Prabhupada didn't know about that, but very soon he came to know, like, within a day or within a few hours, he came to know that there was a big protest kind of a thing happening in Pakistan, and they had killed some of the devotees who had gone there to preach. Now, Prabhupada was so worried that he had ordered somebody to go to Pakistan and that my disciple might get killed. So that relationship is very, very strong from the side of the spiritual master also. And actually, a spiritual master, and I'm forgetting the verse from Bhagavatam, it was something that Prashishka Prabhu quoted a couple of months ago. And he said that a spiritual master actually cries. He cries if he's not able to bring his disciple on a path back to Godhead. He cries. So that's the kind of strong relationship that a person has with a spiritual master. And look at Prabhupada's disciples. So many of them were so young. So many of them were so young, and they lost their spiritual master at such a young age, but they are still pursuing, they're still continuing like that, right? They're still doing it. So that's the connection. Then it's such a strong connection. It's like the invisible umbilical cord that you have with your mom. You also have it with your spiritual master. It's invisible and it is connected everywhere, no matter where the spiritual master goes, whether he's in the phenomenal or whether he's in the numinous, that your connection will still be there like that. So yeah, it's a very sweet relationship. And that sweetness gets extended, once you are under the shelter of a spiritual master. There's a nice family concept because he's your spiritual father. And then, if he's married, then you get a mother also as part of the deal. And then you get hundreds of God siblings, and that's a very sweet relationship. It's very sweet. Because God sibling is usually, typically, not in the case of Shraddha-devi Dasi and Vidyavadhu, God sibling is a sibling with whom you didn't fight when you were small, right? It starts on a very nice plane and then it takes off from there. Yeah. So just search your heart. Yeah, just search your heart. Yeah, go ahead, Preeti. I knew you would say something.
It's such a beautiful talk. Like, it just makes your heart so happy. So I just quickly wanted to share that Sri Murti Mataji, who's one of the very first few disciples of Giraj Swami. So I was talking to her in Sadhu Sangha, and she told me that, when everybody was going and they were like, oh, Giraj Swami is coming in South Africa from the airport. So she said, okay, I will join too to receive the Swami. And she saw him walk down the airport and she cannot explain it. But as soon as she saw him, she had torrents of tears in her eyes and she had no idea. And I was shocked because that's what happened to me. Because when I saw him, my sister kept saying, go to Carpinteria, go meet him. And I was taking the kids to Universal Studios. So I was like, okay, it's only 1 hour away from there. So definitely I will stop by. And then I shared with Srimurti Mataji. And then she said that after she cried, when she surrendered to Giraj Maharaj, she asked him, like, why that? And there is like, after that, back to back, I heard so many devotees that said that they could not explain, but they had tears in their eyes. So Giraj Maharaj had said that, because this relationship is not from this birth. Since you were born, you were looking for Guru. And we have not known each other just this birth. We have known for many, many births. And now we are satisfied that, yes, I'm in the right shelter. I'm in the shelter that I was supposed to be in.
Yeah, there you go. And which brings us back to this thing that, I won't be able to explain it to you. Why? Because you are asking for a phenomenal explanation for something which is numinous, right? Those tears that are coming there when you're seeing your spiritual master are not material tears, right? They become spiritualized like that. Yeah. So I had to mute some of you because I was hearing a noise, but please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions along there. Yeah. And Namazya Mataji is also sharing something. Well, before that, Vidyavadhu says transcendental knowledge should be attained from a pure devotee, and Arjuna is qualified. Very nice. And then we have got Namazya Mataji. She says, incredible. I love it. Is amazing that I have, and I'm under the shelter of Guru Maharaj. Yes, yes, yes. That is true. That is so true. So we have to, yeah, please, if there are any reflections, I'll take some. Otherwise, I'll continue on with the. Should I continue? Right. So we were talking about, yeah. So we were talking about service. I was asking like, what do you serve? And so the answer was that we serve our spiritual master. We serve our parents. We serve, boss and children and things like that. Right. Now, suppose we remove all of them. Then do you serve?
Yeah, we serve ourselves then.
And can you elaborate a little bit on that? So we serve our
to body, then we serve our mind.
And your body is made up of?
Material elements.
Yeah, and on a bigger scale, your body is made up of senses.
Muscles. Oh yeah.
Senses, right? This body is a network of senses. Sharira Vidya Jal Jorindriya Tahika, right? That's what we sing. This body is a network of senses, and we serve them, don't we? 24/7. They're very hard taskmasters. Kamadhinam katina katita palita durnideshas. They are giving you. So we should not say that, like, I don't like to be controlled. I'm independent. No, none of us are independent. All of us are being controlled by our senses. And we are slaves to our senses. We are all go means senses. So we are all go dasas. And if you practice and then you're able to control your senses, then what are you called? You become a master of your senses. Then what will you be called?
Goswami Mataji.
Goswami, exactly. So there's a Godas and then there is a Goswami, like that, right? So we should not think that, I'm under the control of nobody. Right here itself, I'm in the control of my senses, and they control me like nobody's business. They kind of, just do that. So how can my senses be controlled then? What is this process step to do? How do I purify my senses? How do I get out of that?
By engaging senses in service of Krishna.
By engaging the senses of service of Krishna, right? Otherwise, and if you don't engage your senses in the service of Krishna and somehow try to do this and that, for example, which is the sense that gives you the most trouble? Eyes, ears, nose, throat. Which sense gives you?
Tongue.
Tongue. Okay. And even worse than the tongue? Which works when you're even sleeping? Which sense?
Mind.
Mind. There you go, right? So mind is constantly giving you trouble, right? And then I'm trying to control the mind. So controlling the mind, let's do meditation. Let's meditate. What do I meditate on? Nothing. Just don't think of anything. And guess what, we will think of everything then, if we say don't think of anything. So the only way that we can control our mind is to put it on the lotus feet of the Lord. That's the only place that, the mind will rest nicely and properly. Otherwise, any other thing that it goes to, the mind goes to, there'll be serious trouble for us, like that. So we have to focus on that. Go and put your head on the lotus feet. And the interesting thing is that, when you're thinking about Krishna, when you are talking higher level topics, then, all the lower level topics that you talk about gradually will go away. And Krishna, there is so much to know about Krishna. There's so much to know about Krishna. Like somebody once said to Prabhupada. Prabhupada says that, you cannot know Krishna because you ever expanding, you cannot know Krishna, right? So then some student asked him that, he said, Prabhupada, if we cannot know Krishna, then why have you written so many books? Right? If we cannot know Krishna, why 18 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, 9 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita, like that? Why have you written all that? So Prabhupada, he was very good with answers. Prabhupada said, that is why I have written all these books, so that you can know that you cannot know Krishna, like that, right? So when it comes to Krishna, substitute your thoughts. When your thoughts get substituted by thoughts of Krishna, then all the lower thoughts are automatically going to go away. All your base instincts are going to go away. Your desire to atmendriya priti, to satisfy your own senses, and to serve your own senses gets replaced by trying to serve the senses of Krishna. And when you try to serve the senses of Krishna, the beauty is that you automatically, your senses get satisfied. So it's such a nice deal, right? With no fine print there involved, right? And Prabhupada gives an example of how if you give water to the root of a tree, then all the branches and the twigs will get nourished. Similarly, if you are watering the root, and what is the root? Krishna is the root of everything. So if you put water of your devotional service to the root, to Krishna, then automatically everything, that you have in the phenomenal world, that will also get satisfied. So that is what the trick is. But we try to do things in the opposite manner. We first try to satisfy ourselves, right? My indriya, my this thing, my mouth, my sense of smell, my sense of hearing. I want my type of music and things like that. No, change all that and say, what does Krishna like, right? What would Krishna like to hear? What would Krishna like me to do? And that is surrender, when you're everything, every step of what you eat, what yat karoshi, yat ashnashi, yat jihoshi, dadasi, yat tapashyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva mad arpanam. This is in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, 9:27, that whatever you're doing, whatever you're eating, what you're offering, whatever you're giving away, just do everything as an offering to Krishna. That should become our practice. That is the way that we should be living our lives, right? And to do that, to come to that mood, we do need some knowledge, and that's why we read the scriptures. And not every scripture under the sun, not every book that comes out in the market we go and read. We follow Prabhupada, who said that it's enough for you to read, but read scrutinizingly. Read scrutinizingly the Bhagavad-gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you're able to pay attention to these 3 books, you have got enough of ammunition, to just continue in the devotional service like that. And then you'll go from Adhav Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha to Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya basically means that others are doing initiation, others are getting initiated, they're doing things in a proper manner under a spiritual master. You look at them, you see them progress, and you say, I also want that. I also want that, right? I also want a spiritual master. So that will come to you at Sadhu Sangha. So it's only when you come under the wings of a spiritual master that anartha nivritti starts happening. Anartha nivritti means that all the anarthas, the bad things that you have, the bad habits, the bad samskaras, they will start to dissolve. And anartha nivritti is the stage which takes the longest time, and it can span over many, many lifetimes to get rid of the samskaras that we have. Okay? Anartha nivritti. And then once the bad habits go away, then it'll be easy for you to pursue devotional service. Then anishtha will come. Steadiness. Because what makes us unsteady? What makes us unsteady is our desires, the wrong desires. But if you have got cleared all of that, then what is there to do except to focus on the newness, right? You will love to do that. And then a taste develops for doing it. Taste means I like to do it myself. Nobody has to tell me to do it. That's called taste. Otherwise, before that, somebody's telling you, your friend is telling you, please chant 16 rounds. Mother is saying, please chant 16 rounds. Spiritual master is saying, I want you to chant 16 rounds. Otherwise, I'm not going to initiate you. So there is some, rules and regulations under that you're doing it. But when you develop a taste, nobody is going to tell you to chant. You want to chant on your own. And then the next stage that comes is asakti. You have got strong attachment. You don't like it when you don't find time to do your chanting. You get upset because of that. In the beginning, we get upset because we have to get up early in the morning to do the prayers. But on the other end, you get upset because you're not able to do it like that, right? So we have, ruchi, then we have asakti, and then you have bhava. Bhava is when you really start having strong relationships with Krishna. The feelings are becoming very, very strong. And it's the one step before prema, when you get pure love of God. And bhava and prema is nothing but intensified bhava. So those who are in the bhava stage, they are the ones, who will be always crying non-stop for Krishna. They'll feel intense separation from Krishna. They will cry because of that. Like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Hey Radhe, Lalite cha gopike, right? They used to sing that. He Radhe Braj gopike cha lalite, he Vranda suno kuta So they cry in separation because they are at that high stage. Right? And so these are stages, these are steps and they are stages. Anybody can achieve it, and people have achieved it. We have got stories in the scriptures that talk about that. But the starting point is Tadvidi Paripatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadeshyanti Te Jnanam. So you want to have Jnana? Krishna is saying, I'm going to give you. He's giving it to Arjuna, a surrendered soul. That's all we need to do is to surrender to Krishna like that. Okay. So we are close to 7:30 in the evening. I am ready to close shop unless there is some burning question or a
Hare
reflection or you
Krishna, Ma.
yeah.
I have a question that so in that 9 stages, right? It does happen that when we see glimpses, like we're going through certain times and all that, and we see the glimpses of maybe a glimpse of bhava or glimpse of other things, right? But then we may see a glimpse and go back. That also happens, right?
Yes, it happens like this.
Okay.
It can happen like this. Yeah. So anartha, these are not just hard stop stages. Some of the stages can overlap also. Like anartha nivritti is happening along the line. We still have a few anarthas, but then nishtha has also started, right? But it's not 100% nishtha. It's not 100% steadfastness. So it's not that I get up every morning and I'm able to do my 16 rounds. Once in a while, once in a week, I slip, right? Because my nishtha is not complete, because I still have some remnants of anarthas are still left in my thing. Yeah, and sometimes you can also slip back to a lower position because of Vaishnava aparadhas that we can commit. Yeah, like that. Or your progress will be stalled because of that. And sometimes actually, and this is interesting, sometimes the impediments to devotional service, the obstacles to devotional service. So the biggest obstacle to devotional, there are two obstacles to devotional service. The first obstacle is Vaishnava aparadha. Try to do and some aparadha against a Vaishnava. That's why Krishna says, Api chet suduracharo bhaste mam ananya bhav. Even if a Vaishnava is doing extreme bad thing, you just stay away from that thought of compartmentalizing, criticizing, blaspheming. Don't do that. Don't do all that, because that's the biggest impediment to devotional service. It will stop. You won't even know. Your Gayatri mantras will disappear from your head, and you won't be able to get up in the morning. Those kind of things happen. And the second and a very interesting thing, which we would not have thought about, was it is the Lord's desire. Because of Lord's desire, he wants certain things to happen some way. So an impediment will come in your devotional service, but then it'll be cleared, and then you'll progress and you'll go back to Godhead. And the classic example of that is Priyavrata. So Priyavrata, we have Manu, right? Swambhuva Manu and Satrupa. There's the couple, right? So Swambhuva Manu and Satrupa had 5 kids. So there were 3 were daughters, Devahuti, Prasuti, and Akuti, right? The 3 daughters, and he had 2 sons. One son was Uttanpad, from where we had Dhruv Maharaj in that lineage, right? And there was another son called Prithu. No, not Prithu. What was it? Priyavrata, right? So Priyavrata was when Manu went to the forest. Priyavrata actually was ruling the kingdom, and actually didn't want to rule the kingdom. No, sorry. He was talking to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni was telling him all the good things about spiritual life. So he was pursuing spiritual life. He didn't want to become a king, right? But then Brahma comes and tells him that, you have to do this because it is the Supreme Lord's order. God wanted Priyavrata to become the emperor of this universe and rule it like that. So then he gets married because the king needs a wife, king needs kids, and so on and so forth. So that was an impediment in his devotional service. It had to stop. He had to go into Krsna ashram. And then later on, he realizes that I've spent too much of time. Then he leaves all that and then goes back to Godhead ultimately. But there was an impediment, there was an obstacle. And sometimes God can also put obstacles, but those are rare situations, but nonetheless, they are there like that. So yeah, Preeti Radhika, for that question. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ma.
You're welcome. I'd also like to welcome Ankit Prabhu, Anshika Bedi, and my nephew Sunil Krishna is there. I'm so happy, Sunil, to see you. And Koladi Pran Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all of you. Thank you so much for joining the call here. We're about to close it though. But anyway, yeah. Okay, so if there are no more questions and no more reflections, then we'll call it a day here. And in a few hours from now, we are going to meet again for Bhagavad-gita class, where we are talking about the soul. And we'll continue on soul and its nature of not, and its imperishable nature tomorrow, like that. So from now till tomorrow, stay in Krishna consciousness, be safe, think about Krishna, chant about Krishna, sing about Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Shraddha Mataji.
Welcome. So
You're the
Thank you
best.
so much, Shraddha.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. All right, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Hare
Vasham
Krishna.
Mataji. I know this class messes up with your chanting schedule, but you still come here. I appreciate that a lot. Okay, take care, everybody.
You